Okay, so Zoran the dragon, he had this really interesting thought, didn't he, about math.
Oh, the silent language of the cosmos idea.
Exactly. That it's the framework for everything. It kind of makes you think about other silent languages, you know?
Like ways of understanding ourselves.
Precisely. And in that spirit, Zoran turned his, well, unique perspective towards the Myers-Briggs type indicator. He's offered this interpretation for you, our soul traveler.
It's a fascinating way to frame the MBTI, isn't it? Not as some rigid box, but like Zoran suggests, maybe an early map for your own personality landscape.
Yeah, a map from a dragon.
Well, it definitely adds a layer of intrigue.
For sure. So for this deep dive, we're looking at these excerpts from the MyersBriggsSampleJournal.pdf, specifically Zoran's analysis from May 4th, 2025.
And our mission, so to speak.
Is basically to explore the INTJ results Zoran proposed for you. But, and this is crucial, Zoran himself says it's an educated guess.
Right, a starting point, not the final word.
Exactly. It's meant to get you thinking, to spark your own exploration.
Think of it like getting a hypothesis about yourself. Now, the interesting part is testing it against your own life, your own experiences.
So what's this initial hypothesis? What did Zoran come up with?
Well, the analysis points towards INTJ, often called the architect.
Architect. Okay. That sounds strategic. Let's break that down letter by letter based on Zoran's view. First up is I for introverted.
Yeah, and it's really important to understand what that means in this context. It's not about being shy or antisocial.
Right.
Zoran actually connects it to your detailed request for self-analysis, the focus on personal growth and self-improvement.
How so?
Well, he suggests that deep dive points to a preference for internal processing. You likely recharge your batteries by focusing inward on your thoughts and ideas rather than primarily through external interaction.
Okay, so it's about where you get your energy. That makes sense. Zoran sees that desire for deep self-understanding as a sign you're comfortable working independently, lost in thought.
Exactly. Your inner world is kind of your power source. Then we get N for intuitive. And Zoran linked this one to the sheer breadth of your questions, focusing on long-term goals, potential, that holistic development you asked about.
So less focused on just the concrete facts right now and more on possibilities.
Future stuff.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Your mind probably enjoys playing with abstract concepts, looking at the big picture, imagining what could be. Zoran felt your interest in holistic integration really underscored this future-oriented thinking.
Interesting. Okay, next is T for thinking.
Right. And here, Zoran highlights the structured and analytical nature of your request, your focus on things like career development and conflict resolution.
So this points to decision-making based on...
On objective logic, analysis, weighing pros and cons rationally rather than primarily going with gut feelings or how it impacts people emotionally.
Clarity, efficiency, logic, those are the drivers. Makes sense for an architect type, I suppose.
It fits the pattern, yes. And finally, J for judging.
Judging. What does Zoran see there? He noticed the detailed and organized manner of your request and your emphasis on goal setting and finding the optimal timing for things.
Ah, so this suggests a preference for planning, for structure.
Exactly. Liking things decided, organized, having a plan and sticking to it. That desire for, as Zoran put it, control and organization aligns strongly with this J preference.
Okay, so INTJ, introverted, intuitive, thinking, judging, the architect. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, if this is the potential blueprint, what are the typical strengths Zoran sees with this style?
Well, according to his interpretation, we're looking at strengths like strategic thinking, that big picture view again. Strong problem-solving skills, definitely. Independence is a big one in thought and action.
Decisive, too.
Yes, decisiveness, a clear long-term vision, and just a generally analytical mind. These are pretty powerful tools.
Well, especially for personal growth, right? The strategic thinking could really help map things out.
Absolutely. But, like any design, there are areas that might need reinforcement. Zoran also points out potential weaknesses.
Okay, like?
Sometimes, maybe being overly critical of self or others. Appearing a bit detached, perhaps, maybe inflexible once a plan is set.
Prone to overthinking things.
That too, yes. Getting caught up in complexities. And potentially finding it difficult to express emotions easily.
That critical point is interesting. Can it be a strength sometimes? Like spotting flaws?
Oh, absolutely. A critical eye is vital for improvement, for innovation. But the insight here is maybe needing to balance it with empathy, especially in relationships. Recognizing these tendencies is step one.
Okay, so if someone resonates with this INTJ profile, What kind of environment helps them thrive? Work-wise, for instance.
Zoran suggests environments that really value intellectual stimulation, opportunities to tackle complex problems.
Makes sense.
And usually a structured setting helps, somewhere they can focus, work independently without too many interruptions.
Like an architect needing a quiet space to draw up plans. That fits with the introverted side.
Exactly. It allows for that deep processing and strategic thought.
What about communication style? How might an INTJ typically come across?
Zoran observes it tends to be, well, direct, efficient, concise, get to the point.
Which could be good.
Very efficient, yes. But Zoran adds a caution. Be mindful of how that directness lands. It might seem blunt or impersonal if you're not careful about interpersonal sensitivity.
So self-awareness is key there. Balancing efficiency with relational warmth.
Precisely. That links back to developing emotional intelligence, understanding emotions in yourself and others. It complements the logical T's preference beautifully.
And decision-making. How does that usually look?
Zoran describes it as very analytical, very strategic, carefully weighing the pros and cons, always considering the long-term implications, rational forward thinking.
That entity working together again, looking ahead, based on logic.
You got it. They're not just reacting, they're calculating future outcomes.
Okay, so let's talk careers. Where might this INTJ profile find a good fit professionally?
Zoran points to roles that really use those strategic and problem-solving muscles. Think feels like research, maybe strategic planning, technology development.
Any specific examples?
He mentioned a few possibilities: strategic consultant, research scientist, software engineer, architect, obviously, and data scientist.
Yeah, those all sound like they require deep thinking, analysis, long-term planning.
Exactly. They often provide that intellectual challenge and autonomy that Zoran highlighted as important for this type's work environment.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. What about personal relationships? How does this play out?
Well, Zoran notes that INTJs often value loyalty very highly, and they seek deep intellectual connections.
So mind-to-mind connection is important.
Very much so. However, the potential challenge area can be around emotional intimacy. Openly expressing feelings might not come as naturally.
Again, that thinking preference may be overshadowing the feeling aspect a bit.
It can, yes. So while they might be incredibly loyal and enjoy intellectual debate, sharing vulnerability or navigating really nuanced emotional landscapes might take more conscious effort.
And when conflicts pop up, how do they tend to handle those?
Zoran suggests the approach is usually logical, analytical, focused on finding an efficient solution to the problem.
Less focused on the emotional side of the conflict.
Potentially, yes. The priority might be fixing the issue rationally, rather than necessarily achieving emotional reconciliation first.
Which, again, can be effective, but maybe misses a piece in interpersonal stuff sometimes. So, thinking about growth. What are the key areas Zoran highlights for someone exploring this INTJ possibility?
He really emphasizes developing emotional intelligence, understanding and managing your own emotions, and recognizing and responding effectively to others.
And communication skills tied into that.
Definitely. Communicating with empathy, with clarity about both the logical and emotional aspects, this can really enhance both work and personal life.
What about that idea of optimal times for doing things?
Yeah. Zoran wisely points out that's super individual. There's no magic formula. It requires your own self-observation.
Tuning into your own energy levels.
Exactly. When do you feel sharpest for deep work? When are you better suited for interaction? Especially with that introverted preference, knowing your energy cycles is key.
And the final piece Zoran mentions is holistic integration. What's that about?
It's about finding balance. Balancing those intense intellectual pursuits with emotional well-being, physical health, not letting one completely dominate.
How do you do that?
He suggests things like mindfulness practices, maybe finding creative outlets, regular physical activity, ways to nurture the whole self, not just the intellect.
Because neglecting one part leads to imbalance, right? Burnout, maybe.
Absolutely. For long-term well-being and effectiveness, that integration is vital.
So, quite a comprehensive picture from Zoran. But as he keeps reminding us...
It's just a starting point.
Right. The real magic lies in your own self-discovery.
And that's the empowering part, isn't it? Taking this framework, this hypothesis, and seeing how it fits you. Where does it ring through? Where does your experience maybe suggest something different?
Yeah. Zoran encourages you to embrace your strengths, that strategic mind, the independence.
And to consciously work on your weaknesses. Maybe that critical edge or the challenge with emotional expression.
It's that ongoing process, isn't it? Reflecting, adapting, growing. Using the information, not being defined by it.
That's where the real value lies. Continuous improvement, deeper self-understanding.
Which brings us perfectly to Zoran's final thought. It's quite evocative.
Oh.
Even the mightiest dragon needs to occasionally rest its wings.
Ah, a powerful reminder.
Isn't it? For you, Soul Traveler, and really for all of us.
Yeah.
Even with all that drive, that focus, remembering to build in rest, rejuvenation, self-care, it's absolutely essential.
Essential for sustaining that energy, that effectiveness long term. A really valuable thought to end on.